This is the Plan Use and Planning and Land Use Management Committee, right? That's right. I want to welcome everybody. I'm Councilmember Jose Huizar, the chair. I've been joined by council members Felipe Fuentes and Mitch Englander. We're going to go start the agenda. I've got my speaker cards here. We could first start with item number 5 and continue that item per Council District 4 to March the 15th. Item number 5 continued to March the 15th with no objection. Item number 6 we will continue to February 16th per Council District 5. Item number 6 continued to February 16th per Council District 5 with no objection. And if we could now go to item number 8, which is a report from the Director of Planning, and congratulations, there's always a first, and this is your first report as the new Director of the Department of Planning. Welcome to Mr. Vince Bertoni.
Thank you, Chair Huizar and members of the committee. I just want to be very brief, since I know you have a very full agenda, to say thank you, and I'm really glad to be here. And my confirmation approved last Wednesday. My second and first full week on the job is this week, and so next time I'll have a little bit longer report for you, but this week I just want to say thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll not receive and file item number 8 and move on to item number 2.
Relative to the Development Services Reform Initiative.
Thank you. Welcome.
Members, Jason Clean, Office of the City Administrative Officer. Before you today is the latest in the Development Reform Initiative status reports. We're recommending authorizing 5 positions within the Department of City Planning to establish a housing unit. The purpose of the positions are to work on our long-range planning issues associated with housing, as well as provide case management services for housing development-related projects. We are currently working with Matrix Consulting Group to streamline the housing development process for housing projects. We're working with HCID, Building and Safety and City Planning, to streamline that process. And the goal is to provide case management services for projects that otherwise would not have case management services.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much, and I'm certainly pleased to see the creation of the housing unit within the department. Very much needed to address the issues of region-wide housing needs and affordable housing at this time. So thank you. Without any objection, we will approve this report, adopt the CAO report, and approve positions. Great, thank you. No objections, so ordered. Item number 7.
Item 7, Councilman, is an oral presentation by the Planning Department. It's to provide an update on the Neighborhood Preservation Program, ICOs, and implementation dates and policies, and ongoing fixes and milestones.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Craig Weber, City Planning staff. I see that we have an action-packed agenda, so I'll keep the report relative to upcoming milestones for the Neighborhood Conservation Program. By way of quick reminder, this is the program by which the city is looking at multifaceted solutions to address issues of neighborhood character and overdevelopment within single-family neighborhoods. So within this program, we have a series of interim control ordinances, many of which that were adopted in March of 2015 and will expire in March of 2017. These cover 20 neighborhoods, so it's envisioned that 14 of those neighborhoods will eventually avail of new single-family zoning, whereas 6 of those neighborhoods will eventually become historic preservation overlay zones. And this committee will continue to see requests for hardship exemption within those areas until those permanent regulations are adopted. There are motions for additional ICOs, 5 additional ICOs that will likely be before Plum in May of 2016, pending the completion of an adequate environmental review for those pending ICOs. In addition to the interim control ordinances, we also have requested amendments to the city's baseline mansionization ordinance and baseline hillside ordinance, also known as BMO and BHO. So the motion that was submitted by council was very prescriptive as to the desired changes to these ordinances. We were requested to look at the overall amount of floor area that's allowed on single-family lots, what actually constitutes floor area within these houses, and then the bonuses that are currently allowed for various things such as, well, there's a green bonus, there are bonuses for facade articulation, et cetera. So the motion asked for a careful review of all of those. So a draft ordinance was released in November of 2015 that adheres pretty closely to the motion instructions. 4 public hearings were held throughout the city. We've received a broad range of stakeholder input across all spectrums of interest within this issue, and the department is currently considering all of the input at these hearings and considering possible amendments to those draft ordinances. We are anticipating that the revised BMO and BHO will be before City Planning Commission in May of 2016 in the hopes of bringing them forward to City Council in the months following. And again, that we're also pending the completion of an adequate environmental review for that work effort as well. Additionally, the department is looking at the creation of new single-family zones, and this is desired largely to alleviate the burden of BMO and BHO to function as a one-size-fits-all zoning regulation across the city. It's fairly obvious that we need a broader range of single-family zones for the various types of neighborhoods that we have within the city. Those new single-family zones are currently being drafted by staff in consultation with our recode consultants. We are anticipating sharing draft zones with council offices in March of 2016, that's next month, and we hope to be in an outreach phase with the community in April through June. So there we'll be meeting with each of these individual neighborhoods, assisting them in identifying which is the best zone within this menu for their communities. Our hope there is that we would hold a public hearing in July. In July and August, there'll be several hearings. We're dealing with a lot of neighborhoods. And City Planning Commission in November of 2016 in the hopes of making it to Council and Plum in December of 2016. Lastly, there are the historic preservation overlay zones. We're looking at the adoption of 6. That work effort has been broken into 2 phases based on which neighborhoods have complete historic resource surveys and which neighborhoods are still working through their surveys. So the Office of Historic Resources is doing outreach in these neighborhoods in April through July. We'll be holding public hearings in May through August, and again, there's just some phasing of which neighborhoods are going first. There's a stop at the Cultural Heritage Commission in July through October for each of these neighborhoods, and we're looking at council adoption of historic districts in the months of December and January of 2016 and 2017. I did hand out there's a one-pager with all of these milestones that the clerk has. Hopefully those have made it around the horseshoe, and I'd welcome any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much. We thank you for that update. We have one public comment card, William Kuzman.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Glad to be here today. Thank you very much for the update. And I was very encouraged to hear that it is planned that the underlying RFA districts will be heard at public hearings and workshops. This did not happen for Old Granada Hills. You guys know I've been complaining about this for 3 years. It's my observation that the Department of City Planning is not bridging the analytical gap between the raw data and the conclusion that new large home construction poses a threat to the public's health, welfare, and safety. Unfortunately, the City Council is approving these ICOs without full public hearings under the State Emergency Code, and they're not providing the substantial evidence to prove the threat. Now what has happened is the ICO is actually creating a problem for Old Granada Hills because we have residents who are living in a trailer because their house burned down 3 years ago on a 16,000 square foot lot. They got a 1,700 square foot house that they can't rebuild. Their health is jeopardized, their safety is jeopardized. An earthquake comes, they're out on the street with no house. Something needs to be done about the procedure with RFAs.
Thank you very much. Seeing no any more further questions or comments, we will receive and file item number 7. Thank you. Now, back to item number 1.
Item 1, Councilman, is a city attorney prepare ordinance as well as a planning department report to establish the hybrid industrial live-work zone in the city.
Thank you. Thank you. And colleagues, as you all know and public, we last heard this item in Plum in September. That meeting followed 2 years of hard work from the Planning Department and the unanimous recommendation of approval from the City Planning Commission. At that meeting in Plum, we spent a great deal of time discussing the proposal and hearing feedback and questions from members of the public and from around Los Angeles. Following our deliberation, we directed a number of relatively small technical tweaks. Now those final adjustments have been incorporated into the final ordinance, which is before us today. And as a refresher, the goal of this ordinance is to provide a citywide zoning tool that promotes the creation of new jobs, new housing opportunities that are affordable and fit the character of our existing, that fit the character of the existing industrial areas. So with that, let me ask our planning department to give a presentation on this item. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Good afternoon, council members. Brian Eck with the Department of City Planning. Before you today is the final hybrid industrial live-work zone ordinance that has been reviewed and prepared by the City Attorney's Office. As you mentioned, on October 6th of last year, City Council adopted the recommendation of the Plum Committee to adopt the ordinance and directed the City Attorney's Office to prepare the final ordinance. The item was first before Plum on September 8th and September 22nd of 2015. Plum instructed City Planning to make modifications to the draft ordinance as recommended by the City Planning Commission. In particular, Plum requested that the non-residential square foot requirement be revised to include a new 3-tiered approach. Now, based on this change, the director is disapproving on behalf of the City Planning Commission, though the provisions remain consistent with the original policy intent. Council further adopted an amending motion to the Plum report and directed City Planning to report back on 2 items. And before we launch into those 2 report backs, there is one note. There's a typographical error that we found in the ordinance, and I think we'd request that any density bonus reference should refer to the 35%, just for consistency's sake. Okay. See the city attorney nodding. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So with the approval of the Plum report, City Council instructed the City Planning Department to report back on findings related to health and economic concerns. So related to those, the provisions of the proposed hybrid industrial live-work zone and procedures needed to effectuate its use do address health and economic concerns and will require findings and the examination of these 2 topic areas. Additionally, continual review of the zone through annual reporting will allow the city to evaluate the HI zone in light of these subjects. And as a reminder, the proposed ordinance is simply an amendment to the city's zoning code and does not apply to any parcel in the city. And because of this, any use of the proposed zone at this time will require a zone change, a general plan amendment, and necessary environmental review under CEQA. As part of a zone change, use of the HI zone will require findings be made regarding conformance with public necessity, general welfare, and good zoning practice. Additional findings must also be made that any zone change be consistent with the city's general plan, including consistency with the area's community plan and consistency with the city's newly adopted health element, which includes policies concerning adjacency of residential and potentially harmful industrial uses. Any use of the HI zone would also necessitate a general plan amendment in addition to a zone change. And as the sole entity that can initiate a change to the general plan, the city has the ultimate discretion when reviewing these requests and can make a determination about whether a location is appropriate for hybrid industrial based on current uses, on the surrounding context, and existing environmental conditions. And any zone change and general plan amendment will be subject to an environmental review under CEQA. The CEQA process includes analysis and mitigation of potential health concerns related to air quality, to noise, land use, hazard materials, and various other topic areas. The HI zone is the first of its kind, not only for the city of Los Angeles, but for any city in the U.S. A zone of this type is untested, and because of this, it is unclear exactly how the zone will be used, if at all. and where geographically within the city we might see requests for the use of the zone. In light of this, Council has instructed planning to provide annual reports on the use of the zone. Given the untested nature of the zone, an evaluation period will allow staff to assess the impact of implementing the ordinance by reviewing the number, the location, the nature of requests, and can report on any health and economic effects. So, to summarize the first report back here, health and economic concerns will be thoroughly reviewed through the general plan amendment, zone change, and CEQA processes. And continual examination of use of the zone through annual reporting allows the city to evaluate these and any other important topic areas related to the use of the HI zone. Okay, so in addition, city planning was also asked to provide an update on our department's community plan program and provide specific details about the 2 downtown community plans. In front of you is a sheet that details the status of the community plan program. So I'll quickly walk through that and then follow up with some more details about the 2 downtown community plans. There are 10 community plans currently in the stage of either development, CEQA review, adoption, or post-adoption implementation. 2 community plans have recently been updated and adopted, the Silmar and Granada Hills plans, which were adopted in June and November of last year, respectively. 2 plans are currently in the adoption phase, West Adams and San Pedro. 2 are currently in their CEQA review phase. This is South and Southeast Los Angeles. And Hollywood is completing its revised environmental analysis. The Boyle Heights, Central City, and Central City North plans represent the next generation of community plans and are in the conceptual development phase. So now specifically on the 2 downtown community plans, Central City and Central City North. The two plans are being updated simultaneously as part of an integrated work program in tandem with the Recode LA project. The downtown plans will be the first plans to use the new code, and will even have their own chapter of the new code to address the many unique aspects in the area in a more customized approach. The update process includes development and application of a whole suite of new zones, specifically developed for downtown. These will be context-sensitive and highly tailored to meet the needs of the different unique neighborhoods found within downtown. The code will include a wider variety of zone types, which are currently in development, such as an assortment of new mixed-use zones, new residential emphasis zones, and a wider palette of industrial zones, including everything from industrial sanctuaries to various permutations of hybrid industrial mixed-use zones. Community engagement on the project began in January 2014 and will continue throughout the year. A project website at dtla2040.org will launch later this month and provide an easy way for downtown stakeholders to engage with the project and stay up to date. So finally, to wrap up, there are a few future activities to highlight. Near-term outreach through March and April with a series of meetings to share updates on both the downtown code and downtown plans. The first of these will be held on March 16th at Metro Headquarters Lobby. Drafting of the plan concept, which will be informed by the outreach activities and will continue throughout the year. Early environmental work with the consultant team starting its formal process late this year. And again, launch of the project website at dtla2040.org later this month. So thank you, and we're here for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for our planning department at this time? No. I have a few questions, but I'll wait till after the public comment, and then we'll move on from there. So we'll call public comment at this time. Thank you. So I'll call up 3 people at a time. We have quite a bit of cards, so if each speaker has 1 minute, but if you could cut your time, you say what you have to say, and things have been said already, we'd all appreciate it. We do have a number of cards. Blair Betston, Dana Sales, and Dustin Smith. Welcome. You could come up if I called your name and just state your name again, please, for the record.
My name is Dustin Smith. I'm
Okay.
Vice President of Development for Equity Residential. For those of you not familiar with our company, we are the owner and developer of several multifamily communities in Los Angeles, including the Arts District, Little Tokyo, and Chinatown. I'm here to offer my support for the ordinance. I think we're all familiar with the housing shortage in Southern California, and with the imbalance of housing to jobs, this is a positive move in the right direction. And as a developer, having a guide as a set of rules to work under is important, and this ordinance provides that framework, so thank you.
Good afternoon, Dana Sales, 360. I'm very pleased to be back here testifying in support of this ordinance. We're specifically supportive of the fact that this framework could be utilized and extended citywide in other transitioning industrial areas such as the Expo Transit Corridor Neighborhood Plan and transitioning areas that need live-work housing. We also like to request that given the processing requirements to undertake a general plan amendment associated with potential future projects, we urge the city to work with the planning department to readily issue initiation requests, as these have to be initiated by staff and not by individual applicants, as this is an essential tool to furthering the jobs housing balance in these areas. We urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, council members. Blair Beston, Historic Core Business Improvement District, and I'm also a resident of downtown. I've spoken on behalf of this, in support of this ordinance, and submitted a letter. I'm happy to do so again today. I just sat in a county hearing on their plan on homelessness since 10 o'clock this morning in order to speak at public comment. And I just have to say that ordinances such as these, anything we can do to further development and provide housing, there's a housing shortage in Los Angeles. We need to look forward and continue to implement programs and policies that encourage development. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation where we're emulating what San Francisco did, where people are basically priced out of the market. I know I was able to come to Los Angeles a long time ago, and I could afford an apartment then. It's getting more and more difficult for people, and we just don't want to add to a problem that's growing. We're seeing such an increase in homelessness. I'd really like to find that we can work towards solutions that'll be there for the long term. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Taban, Jacob Van Horn, Dr. Josh Albrechtsen.
Good afternoon, council members. I want to start off by thanking the planning department and Councilman Huizar and his staff for all their efforts. I am Daniel Taban of Jade Enterprises, a privately held commercial real estate firm headquartered in downtown LA. Our firm has been investing in developing in downtown for the past 30 years, and we support the approval of the hybrid industrial ordinance as a guide for smart development in our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacob Van Horn. I'm the Vice President of DTLARealestate.com, a commercial firm in downtown Los Angeles, and I want to voice our support for this ordinance. Currently, I get a lot of tenants that contact me about possible space in the Arts District. Because of lack of density and rising prices, I'm forced to recommend that they do not go there. I've heard that the ordinance will destroy the character of the Arts District. I propose the opposite, that if we don't support this, only the wealthiest of individuals and corporations will be able to go into that. So we are in support of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Joshua Brexton. I'm a downtown resident. I am also the head of the DTLA Development Facebook group. We have 2,125 members. I think, Councilman, you might be one of them. We are all in support of building more housing and creating more housing in downtown. The only way we could keep downtown affordable for everybody is if we actually make enough housing for everybody, and we hope this happens soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Gente, John Hrovat, and Max King. And the brevity is appreciated. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Gente with Mill Creek Residential. I've been involved in 3 projects in the Arts District going back some 18 years. We strongly endorse this ordinance. I delivered a letter to you a few weeks ago. There is one very important component that needs a little bit of tweaking, and that has to do with the live-work unit requirement that all units, at least 70%, have floor area open. And what that precludes us from giving to the marketplace is 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, and maybe even 4 bedrooms. That is the least expensive product that we can bring to the marketplace. It also will affect the 5% of the very low-income units that we will also be providing in our buildings. Please adjust that word "all" to 50%. It's an important tweak to making this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the council, my wife, when she came from graduate school in London, England at the Royal College of Art, she convinced her entire graduate school class to make their pilgrimage here to Los Angeles because it's the crucible of contemporary art in the world. But without affordable housing for artists, the artists who live here won't be able to make that art. They won't be able to push that innovation forward into our future history for Los Angeles. So I hope you'll support this ordinance to help support artists and the cultural future of Los Angeles.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak before this body again. I'll be very brief. I know you've heard of these points of our housing shortage in our city. This ordinance does a great thing in helping address some of that housing shortage. It helps redeploy some of the underutilized industrial buildings that I would argue are a drag on our local economy. And this hybrid industrial zone is a good thing to help address both the underutilized industrial and bring housing that's very much needed in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Tidwell, John Given, Patty Berman.
Good afternoon. My name is Sylvia Tidwell, and I'm the head of the Tenants Association at the Santa Fe Art Colony in downtown Los Angeles. We're on Santa Fe Avenue, and it is a community of about 80 artists, and we live in a rent-controlled live-work complex that was established with CRA funding, and we support the ordinance. It will counter uncontrolled gentrification and provide affordable live-work housing suitable for artists. As I've said in previous meetings, history has shown that the fine artists, the fine arts, and the fine artists are the primary incubators for the other arts. The recent Otis report on the creative economy in California tells us that 750,000 jobs in LA are in the arts, directly or indirectly. The arts represent over 10% of LA's total economic output. Thus, studio artists support a huge engine. We also advocate a provision for exclusive rental to artists for the low-income units, should a developer choose that. The Santa Fe Art Colony was established with federal funding as well as CRA funding, and we do legally have the right for exclusivity in rental to artists, and we hope the provision will include that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Given, Patty Berman.
Good afternoon, council members. John Given on behalf of Eli Raba, Arts District Community Council, and several individual stakeholders. I visited the electronic council file for the item earlier today, late this morning, hoping that I might see something in advance from planning regarding the requested findings that were made by Councilmember Krikoria, and I believe seconded by the chair. There was nothing from planning, but I did find Mr. Goldsmith's letter dated January 27th, which was just submitted to the record today, apparently. The takeaway from that letter is that my past communications to Plum and the City Council are all wrong. My clients and I respectfully disagree with that assessment, and we reassert that those letters are correct. I'd just like to say, the purpose of this ordinance was not about housing creation. We respect that it's certainly an ancillary benefit, but the purpose of the ordinance was supposed to be for job creation. And further to the point that I previously made, as planning reported earlier, they're doing all kinds of CEQA review on upcoming community plans. If they can do that, they should be able to do some limited CEQA review here for this ordinance.
Thank you, sir. And did you say you represent La Raba?
Yes, I do.
Who else do you represent?
Several individual stakeholders: Yuval Bar-Zemmer, Mark Borman, Paul Solomon, and the Arts District Community Council.
And La Raba voted to oppose this ordinance?
I'm not aware of a particular vote, but they have been my client for some time, and I've written several letters to the record related. I'm not aware of their internal business.
But you are here representing them in the capacity of their attorney for La Raba.
On this issue?
Okay, I wasn't aware of any vote that took place on this to oppose it. Okay, thank you very much.
I haven't inquired into their internal business. I was just requested by their president.
Patty Berman?
Good afternoon. My name is Patty Berman. I am the president of the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. We have a letter on file about this issue. We are very much in favor of the hybrid industrial ordinance. We feel that it will bring a lot of change to an area that requires a great deal of change. We would like to thank the planning department for having taken some of the recommendations that we have been pushing at them and looking at ways to reuse certain aspects of the land so that we can have more housing and maybe even more housing for people who can't find it now. I would also like to say that the Lincoln Heights Chamber of Commerce has asked me to speak for them also in favor of this. Let's get this going, get some more buildings built, and keep downtown moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Villa, Lucy Jensen, Nicolo.
Good day, council members. My name is Tom Villa. I live and work downtown at the Santa Fe Art Colony. I support the ordinance, especially hoping for a component that allows for artists to have live workspaces who are on low and moderate income. The arts are very important in Los Angeles. It's not just altruism to support it, but the people who are artists are generating ideas that then go on to fuel the entire creative engine that is Los Angeles. We need a creative solution for a creative city. Let's bring spaces, live workspaces that these people can use at a low and moderate income. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I am Lucy Jensen. I'm currently a resident of the Santa Fe Art Colony on the southern border of the city. I support the hybrid industrial live-work ordinance. As an artist, I need a living space where I can create the large-scale works that I make a living from. I see this ordinance as a positive step towards ensuring that artists and others will continue to have suitable spaces to live and work in throughout the city. Gentrification, when it's unchecked, Los Angeles has experienced that. I lived in the Arts District from 1995 to 2006 and then moved down to Santa Fe Colony. I would not be able to afford a place in the Arts District now at the prices. Keeping the city attractive to artists preserves the cultural identity of the city, which in turn helps the myriad of businesses that benefit from that identity. I urge you to support the ordinance.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. As a property owner of multiple commercial properties throughout downtown Los Angeles, the Arts District, South Industrial District, and Produce District, I'd like to voice my support for the opportunities and possibilities that this ordinance creates for us in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesse Martin Jr. Jesse Martin. Oh, same card. Chris Martin. And Fred Afari.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Jesse Martin, owner of Value Produce Company that we're at the Art District for many, many years. My family, my kids, all of them work for the company, and we support the ordinance. Hope that everything works out and for the better of the city as well. That's the only thing I can say. Thank you very much.
So there's a Jesse Martin and a junior? Is that? Yeah, okay. So, Jesse Martin Jr.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Jesse Martin Jr. And I support the ordinance. I think the opportunity to use this tool to help the city get into the future, I mean, why would we pass that up? It's just a tool. You guys can work out the rest of that later. And So I hope you guys pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Fred Afari from Elm Tree Investments. I'm in support of the hybrid industrial ordinance also. We feel that by requiring the live work units and non-residential uses that are going to be produced as a result of this ordinance, it's really going to help the residential need for the apartment and residential need for the people in the city. And the fact that the ordinance itself has got certain criteria that's going to help the design and promotion of these units in a way that's going to be very helpful in the development of the industrial areas and creating more apartments in the area.
Thank you. Chris Martin, Hamid Bedad, Daniel Kotzer, Gideon Kotzer.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Chris Martin. I'm with Value Produce. As you heard from my father and my brother, I too am for the hybrid industrial ordinance, and we hope that it passes. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Sir, you're not Hamid Bedad.
I am not. John Given, for the record.
Sir, I'm sorry, you're out of order.
I am out of order. I just want to
clarify.
clarify.
Sir, you are out of order. You are out of order. We're calling this and we are calling this with, in line. You had your time. I apologize. If I allow you to speak right now, everyone will rush up to the microphone and it would get chaotic. Thank you. Hamid Bedad, Daniel Kotzer, Gideon Kotzer.
Good afternoon. Hamid Bedad, Central City Development Group, 601 South Figueroa, unit number 2601. We have reviewed this project. We're the real estate developer as well as land use consultants. We have reviewed this ordinance very carefully. We believe it's another very effective tool in the toolbox of city planning to help on two fronts. One, to create more housing. Second, to create jobs. And for that reason, we strongly support the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Kotzer, Gideon Kotzer. Hey, Gideon.
Good afternoon. My name is Gideon Kotzer. I own real estate in downtown and also DSS Investment Group. I've been in downtown in the art district over 40 years. I saw it coming and going in different situations. I like the ordinance. I like to help the artists to come back to downtown LA. We lost them. So that's a chance to return the coin to get back the young kids, the artists back. That's my son.
Hi, I'm Daniel Kotzer. I manage and operate all the family real estate that we own, particularly Willow Studios. I think it's very beneficial for the area. I've seen the area change a lot in the last 34 years that I've been going there to help my father with his business. I think it's very good for progression, and that not only will it bring residents in, it'll help a lot of the units, help a lot of the help a lot of the businesses in the area expand and grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dale Goldsmith, Daniel Wright, Marie Rumsey.
Good afternoon, honorable committee members. My name is Dale Goldsmith. I'm a partner of the law firm of Armbruster Goldsmith and Delvac. First, I'd like to commend planning staff for all the hard work they put in over the last many months in bringing this ordinance to fruition. As Mr. Given mentioned, I did send a letter responding to his prior letter alleging that the CEQA exemption was inappropriate. As set forth in my letter, we believe that the categorical exemption is appropriate in this case. The planning department properly determined that there be no specific project developed under this ordinance because it doesn't rezone any specific piece of property, and that to consider any impacts of projects would be inappropriate speculation at this time. The planning department properly determined that there's no credible evidence to the contrary that's been presented in the record today. Public interest in the HI ordinance in the form of attendance at workshops, comments on specific provisions of the ordinance, and testimony in support of the ordinance at public hearings is not evidence that any specific project will be proposed. Therefore, we respectfully request that you recommend approve the ordinance to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
afternoon. My name is Marie Rumsey, and I'm here on behalf of the Central City Association. We submitted a letter on the record for this item and ask that you approve it today. We've worked with city planning and all the stakeholders for the last 2 years on this ordinance and believe it provides a good pathway forward to construct new live-work units, and we hope that you'll move it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Daniel Wright?
Daniel Wright, 467 Crane Boulevard, Los Angeles. As a preliminary matter, Mr. Given was just going to inform you that his board did pass a motion, so he's authorized to be here. I have looked at this ordinance only in a cursory way. I commented on it because I was concerned about the way the language of the ordinance at one time read, and I don't know if it's still there or not. There was at a time language that said, if a project proposed by a developer does not comply with the general plan, a general plan amendment will be processed to make the general plan conform with the developer's project. That is backwards in terms of planning, and I'd like to know if that's been removed from the ordinance. Section 555 of the city charter makes it unlawful to process a general plan amendment for a specific individual parcel, and the city needs to be aware of that and comply with the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Sachs, Baldomero Capiz.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Sachs. I'm a property owner that would be covered by the proposed HI ordinance. I fully support it and hope that you will too, and hope that this really helps the city move forward in its growth going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, señores concejales. My name is Baldomero Capiz, de la organización Braceros, y nosotros apoyamos la ordenanza. Nosotros hemos apoyado la ordenanza porque reconocemos que tenemos una escasez de vivienda a bajo costo. Como grupo que defiende el derecho de las personas a viviendas accesibles a bajo costo, es importante que la ciudad haga todo lo posible para crear más viviendas. Cada año es más caro vivir en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Las rentas siguen aumentando y es demasiado caro vivir en el centro a menos que sea en Skid Row. El alcalde Garcetti dijo necesitamos en los próximos 10 años más de 100,000 viviendas para que gente de bajos recursos, pero no creo que eso sea posible a menos que se apruebe esta ordenanza. Apoyamos la ordenanza porque tiene un componente que incluye un porcentaje de viviendas accesibles a bajo costo y moderado.
Gracias, señor.
Thank you.
Thank you. What Mr. Capiz said is that he is with the Braceros group. They support the ordinance. They support the ordinance because it would help the need of producing more affordable housing. We as a group work to provide and support low-income people. The city should do more to build affordable housing. The cost of housing is increasing. It's getting expensive. Mayor Garcetti has said that he wants to build 100,000 more housing in the next 10 years. This would help that. Thank you. Gracias. That ends our public comment. How did I do?
Perfect.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask for a raise. Let me ask the planning department to please come up. Just a couple of questions on my end and see if the committee has any other questions. Today, what's before Plum is whether or not we should create a new zoning tool and the hybrid ordinance. If this is passed today and adopted by the City Council, could you clarify what the next steps would be for anyone, either developer or the department, to take advantage of this new zone, and what additional entitlements would be needed?
Good afternoon, council members. Patricia Diefendorfer, Senior Planner, Planning Department. If and when the ordinance is adopted, the next steps for anyone who would be seeking to apply for the ordinance, it would require a general plan amendment and a zone change. So there would have to be an application from a property owner to request a plan amendment and zone change. Only the city can initiate general plan amendments. So there's a process by which the general plan amendments are reviewed to determine whether they're appropriate, whether those requests are appropriate. And it would be at that time and at the discretion of the city to determine whether there is, it's appropriate for the location for which it's being requested. Subsequently, if the initiation is approved, then there would be it's a legislative process to have a plan amendment and zone change, and that involves a lengthy process of going through a CEQA review. It involves multiple public hearings, including public hearings before the City Planning Commission, the Planning and Land Use Committee of the City Council, and ultimately the City Council.
Okay, thank you. And what's the secret review for any project that is approved under this ordinance?
Patricia Diefendorfer, department staff. The secret review would be determined by the project, an initial study. An applicant would apply for what's called an EAF, an environmental assessment form, and at that time an initial study would be prepared, and that would determine whether there are potential impacts to the project based on the size of the project, the scale, the uses that are being proposed, and the location. And so then it would that would make we would make a determination at that time. It could be anything from a negative declaration to a mitigated negative declaration to a full environmental impact report, depending on the outcome of the initial study.
So each individual project will go through an environmental analysis to determine the impacts on the environment as required by CEQA, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and just to clarify, at this time, no individual parcel will be immediately changed following the adoption of this ordinance. Is that correct?
Planning department staff, yes. As we had noted, there are no properties that would be rezoned as a result of this action. This action is simply an ordinance that would introduce a new zone into the zoning code of the city. It's a code amendment.
Yeah, and as I understand it, we constantly change policies related to the zoning in the city, and oftentimes categorical exemptions are used for those if it doesn't change a particular parcel, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing no questions or comments, I'd move that we approve this ordinance and send it to full council.
Councilman, you may wish to instruct the city attorney to prepare a cleanup version of the ordinance, because I believe there were some typo errors that the planning department mentioned. The city attorney can have that ready for tomorrow, since this item is in council tomorrow.
Okay, can we ask the city attorney to provide a cleanup ordinance? Move through. Great.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none, so ordered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please. Item number...
You either have 3 or 4, Councilman. 4 is an appeal of a...
Let's go to item number 3, please.
Okay, item 3, Councilman. What you have before you is a City Planning Commission recommendations relative to a general plan amendment and a zone change and various other land use entitlements, as well as 4 appeals relative to the target project in CD 13.
Thank you. Is staff here on this item?
Good afternoon, Councilman Blake Lamb with the Planning Department. As mentioned, the project before you is a proposed Target store in the Vermont Western Specific Plan located in East Hollywood. The City Planning Commission approved several requested entitlements for this project at their November 12th, 2015 meeting. There have been 4 appeals filed. 3 appeals were filed by project opponents. 1 appeal was filed by the project applicant, Target. The Target appeal is appealing 2 conditions of approval. One of those has to do with indemnification language, and one of those has to do with a condition of approval regarding child care. As part of their appeal, Target has submitted some additional documentation, including a fee study that they've submitted in order to demonstrate the fee amount that would be required in order to accommodate their employees' child care needs. And based on this additional documentation, in order for planning and other city departments to more fully understand this additional fee study. We need to conduct additional research, and more information needs to be obtained. Therefore, we would recommend that this case be extended 60 days in order to allow additional time for the research to be conducted.
Okay. Well, thank you for that presentation. Let's go to public comment at this time. There's been a request to continue this 60 days. I understand the local council office also has made that request so that some of those items may be worked out. What I will do, since there were a number of people who came to be heard on this item, allow for public comment now. I will keep it open for the next hearing. Typically, we could close it today, but I'll keep it open.
Councilmember Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office. So since the appeals are being continued, your public comment today may be limited to the actions or the report that's actually going forward, which is the continuance of the item for the reasons that that planning staff suggested.
So they're going to be limited to that?
Yes, so 1 minute public comment on the actual action that you're taking today.
Okay, so as the city attorney informed me, the comments today need to be limited to the action that we may take, which is to continue this, if that's going to be our, but we haven't taken that action, so how can we limit it to that?
So that's what's before you. So that's a recommendation that's before. So staff has recommended that you continue the item on the basis that there needs to be further analysis. There is that consent by target, and so the applicant and the city, if they have mutual consent, can continue the item. So if you're continuing the appeals and you're not hearing the appeals today, you don't take comment on the appeals, nor do you hear the appeals.
Okay, so there's been a recommendation from the planning department to continue this item for 60 days for those items to be worked out. We've also been informed by the local council office, Mr. O'Farrell's office, that is their desire as well. I've been informed by the city attorney that any public comment today should be limited to the recommendation that we continue this. So I don't know what that means, what you could talk about or not talk about, but we'll see as we go. You'll correct us, correct, city attorney?
Correct, yes. The intent is not to hear the appeals. You're not hearing comment on the appeals.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. So let me start in public comment with, and the other thing you can do is just save your comments till this item comes back to a full hearing. So either way, you could do one or the other. I'll start with the appellants. I understand the appellants are George Abrams, Richard McNaughton on behalf of Citizens Coalition of Los Angeles, and Doug Haynes on behalf of La Mirada. That's what I have on my record sheet, but we did get a card from Daniel Wright representing La Mirada. And Target is also an appellant and the applicant. So let me do this. First, let's clarify between Doug Haynes and Daniel Wright. Both of you representing the La Mirada Avenue Neighborhood Association, one of you could take 5 minutes, another 1 minute, since you are the appellants.
I believe the city attorney, Doug Haynes for La Mirada, I believe the city attorney would not allow us the 5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, only the 1 minute comment period.
Yeah, again, Councilmember Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office. If you're not hearing the appeals today, then it's public comment limited to 1 minute.
Gotcha. Okay, so 1 minute on each person that I call up. Okay. So Doug Haynes.
Thank you so much, Doug Haynes for the La Mirada Neighborhood Association. And I'll comment on the request by Target. It was very clear at the City Planning Commission hearing that the commission members wanted child care. They did not want an in-lieu fee. They did not want Target to get away without providing child care. It's the one thing that Target should provide for the low-income individuals in our community. Target said in their appeal that they are willing to compromise. You don't compromise the law. Target has no ability to compromise in this matter. It's up to you as the decision makers. And even if they did compromise, their proposal is that somehow they'll provide the funds to the people who would need the child care, but there's no way for the city planning department to be able to monitor that, and certainly no way for the Department of Building and Safety to monitor that. So Target needs to provide child care, or the people in my community who desperately need work won't be able to work at this overbearing building. Thank you very much.
Daniel Wright, George Abrams.
Good afternoon, council members. Daniel Wright on behalf of La Mirada. We would have no objection to the requested extension and support the applicant's request for the extension. Thank you.
Thank you.
George Abrahams. I'm not going to lose my 5 minutes if I speak today, will I?
No, sir, but you only
Okay.
have 1 minute today.
Okay.
1 minute.
All right. The EIR for a Target store on one specific lot is not adequate environmental review for the creation of a new SNAP sub-area. An addendum does not allow for the necessary public comment. And this is something that Judge Goodman made clearer when he knocked down the Hollywood Community Plan update. And he quoted another case, and it said, if an EIR fails to include relevant information and precludes informed decision-making and public participation, the goals of CEQA are thwarted and a prejudicial abuse of discretion has occurred. So I would suggest that you do a full EIR and save yourself a headache in court.
Thank you. John Dews, Doug Cooper, William Huntness.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is John Dews, Regional Development Manager with Target Corporation. I just wanted to confirm our acceptance of the extension, the continuance on the project, so we can work out the child care issue. Target, for the record, has no issue with child care. It's just the method in which this will be handled, which will be worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Cooper, William Huntness, Richard.
Hi, my name is Doug Cooper. I'm here as part of the Target team, and I have no further comments for this.
Can't force anyone to speak if they don't want to, right? William Huntness, Richard Schulman, Carmen Mock.
Bill Huntress, Target Corporation. I'll save my comments for the full hearing, but we're in support of the continuance as well as Mr. Schulman. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're on William Huntness. That was William Huntness, correct? Yeah. Richard Schulman, Carmen Mock.
Thank you. Richard Schulman, support the continuance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Carmen Mock. I'm the Senior Group Vice President for Target, and I'm in support of the continuance as well. And I'll save the rest of my comments for the full hearing. Thank you.
Okay. Jim McQuiston, Susanna Furios.
Jim McQuiston, continue it.
All right, Jim. Susanna Furios, Janet Weiland. You don't wish to speak, you just say wave. Susanna Furios here? No. Janet Weiland? No. Bill Zide? Bobby Pepe? Alicia Widsling?
Hi, my name is Bill Zide. I'm the chair of the Hollywood Studio District Neighborhood Council, in which the Target is in. My only main comment would be here that we haven't heard from Target. Nothing has been presented to us since April of 2009. I would encourage you to encourage them and the planner to come before the Hollywood Studio District and the community and present these proposed changes in full. It would be nice to actually have the community vet it and review it and comment on it. But continue away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Alicia Witzing on behalf of the LA Chamber of Commerce. Just lending our support to the council office and the department on continuing to work with the applicant and looking forward to commenting as this moves forward and working with you guys to help it move forward.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to comment that I'm in favor of this project and moving on with it, and I'll come back for the next hearing. Thank you.
Bobby Pepe, correct? Yep. Alex Kondrak and Chris Robertson from Council District 13, please.
Hi. I just want to say that the applicant is the Target Corporation, whose 1,800 stores in the United States generate over $75 billion annually, and whose CEO receives almost $50 million a year in compensation. They can afford the child care.
Chris Robertson.
Good afternoon, council members. Chris Robertson, Planning Director for Councilmember Mitchell Farrell of the 13th District. We fully support a 60-day continuance in order to give the city additional time to review the materials that Target has presented, and we look forward to coming back before your committee as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And so for the record, we are continuing this item. We need a date certain, I was told, so March 22nd? Is that within 60 days? Is that okay?
Yes.
March 22nd, we'll have this item back in the committee so that the department and the applicant and all others involved can work out that issue. Thank you very much. So ordered. Next item, item number 4.
Councilman, there's a request to reopen item number 1 for an additional recommendation. If you could reopen that item again.
Sure. We open number 1.
You need to have an action. I've been advised by city attorney formally.
Motion to reopen item number 1 for a second by Mr. Englander. So ordered. On item number 1, if we could amend that to have the planning department report back to this committee in 6 months regarding the ordinance's implementation and efficacy of its provisions. We could just add that as a direction. Thank you. Any objections to that? Seeing none, so ordered. Thank you. Next item, please.
Yes, Councilman. The last item remaining is item 4. It's an appeal by Robert Leland. He's appealing the action of the CPC relative to the approval of a vesting tract map for 100 small lot homes in CD 13.
Okay, welcome. Brief overview of this, please.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Jordan Turner with the Department of City Planning. As previously mentioned, this is a tract appeal of a tract for 100 small lot units in the Frogtown area of the city. Of the 100 units, some consist of mixed-use units along Blake Avenue in Frogtown, along with live-work units along the river. The appeal is an appeal of the CPC decision from November 2015, which was an appeal of the Deputy Advisory Agency decision of October 2015. An overview of the appeal: the appellant is appealing the adequacy of the M&D, the project scale, as well as the lack of perceived public comment regarding the input of the project. Staff feels that public comment was adequately addressed, as well as the M&D was properly prepared with city and state guidelines. In conclusion, staff recommends the denial of the appeal and the sustaining of the decision of the City Planning Commission. As a very quick aside and cleanup of letter of determination, there are a couple of inadvertent pages listed in the LOD, specifically pages 29 through 31, and also pages mentioned C1 through C7. Those are pages that were included from a prior letter of decision that's not pertinent to this particular case. So with that, staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions at this time? No, seeing none. I'm looking for the appellant on record on this.
Mr. Leland.
Okay, and we have, here it is. Okay, there it is. I got it. Okay. Thank you. Robert Leland, or Leyland. And you have 5 minutes, sir. And then the applicant has 5 minutes, and all other public comment has 1 minute. So welcome.
My name is Robert Leyland, a longtime resident of Elysian Valley. I speak for myself. I live about 5 blocks from the site. I use the de facto LA River Urban Wildlife Refuge, first proposed by Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, MRCA. They issued a report by that name, 2005, circa. I'm also concerned with the Elysian Valley Community Garden, across the street from Bimbo, where 17 condos are proposed right next to the garden. The CEQA process has failed to adequately review and evaluate the significant adverse impacts individually and cumulatively of the proposed project. Please review my 4-page letter dated May 27 and a 2-page letter dated November 19th. Both were ignored. I again call for a full independent environmental impact report to evaluate this project individually as well as cumulatively, that is, alongside the many other projects pending and or anticipated. The MND failed to evaluate the growth-inducing impact of the proposed project. We need a traffic study not after the project is approved, but before a decision is made. The EIR needs to evaluate the impact individually and in the aggregate upon our riverside communities, as well as on the de facto LA River Urban Wildlife Refuge, as well as on the LA River Wildlife Corridor. These are refuge for bicycle riders, walkers, bird watchers, and others who seek nature, not buildings. The MND failed to evaluate the aesthetics of the proposed project, a gaudy collection of boxes that are out of character and scale with our community. Which is an outdoor park and wildlife refuge. An outdoor park or wildlife management expert needs to review the project. The CEQA document failed to consider air quality. This project is far from adequate public transit. This project is actually auto-dependent, violating the City of LA sustainability policies. The CEQA process failed to review the impact upon biological resources. Where are the Army Corps of Engineers wildlife surveys, Audubon Christmas bird counts? Where's the local regional ornithologist letters? Geological soils liquefaction risk has not been considered seriously. The City of LA is a heat island contributing to global warming. The glass, steel, concrete canyons that the city is proposing instead of restoring the LA River that could cool the heat island and enhance the quality of lives of our park-poor city. Hydrology, these projects have a common denominator. They increase the impermeable surfaces that increasing runoff and the risk of flooding, a social cost for the profit of developers. What about noise? What about population and housing? What about gentrification with displacement of lower income working class Latino and Asian communities for the benefit of mostly white upper income outsiders? What about the apartheid-like barrier between the North Parkside, mostly Latino communities, and from the predominantly Asian South Churchside communities? I request a couple of minutes, if at all possible. Bimbo would serve as a physical barrier between the North and South communities, a barrier that started with public storage. The impact upon Doris Place and Alessandro Elementary Schools needs study. What about the letters from the principal? Transportation and circulation, especially in the event of catastrophic emergency. Planning department is not considering that we have limited egress and ingress. Again, the Bimbo proposed $25,000 for, in the event the project was approved. We need that money before the project is considered.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. 1 minute? No, 5 minutes is what we allow to each side. Thank you very much, though. I appreciate it. Okay, now, the applicant, Representative Jerry Newman.
Council members, my name is Jerry Newman, representing Heritage Development in this matter. Thank you for your time. The process in getting to where we are today has been a very collaborative one with the community as well as with staff in trying to get to a project that is designed in a way that everybody accepted. In fact, it was called a model project by your planning commission. We started off this process with between 50 and 70 people being concerned about the project that was proposed at the time, and through the work we did through numerous meetings, we ended up with a project that has been hailed as a model for how small lot subdivision could be handled and how you mix small lot subdivision with historic preservation and providing community assets. We are here to answer any questions you have, and we'll make ourselves available to do so. We ask for your recommendation to move this through to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Elena Lovelace, Lupe Fletes, and Chris Robertson from Council District 13.
Hello, my name is Elena Lovelace, and I live in Elysian Valley. I've lived there all of my life. Since when is it called Frogtown officially? I thought that was a gang name. Excuse me. I am completely opposed to the Bimbo project, especially in our community. We're between the Alley River and the 5 freeway, and there's only 2 entrances and exits, and bringing more density would only make Elysian Valley into a death trap. You know, I was at a meeting the other day, and one of the representatives from Mitchell Farrell's office, they were talking about a new project in our community and how they can get around the queue conditions by using the affordable housing clause. We have that on recording. That's corrupt, and we do have it on recording. We are going to bring it eventually. I just want to ask that please do not let this Bimbo project come into our neighborhood. It's too big, and if you know Elysian Valley, we're a very small community. I mean, it's out of control. The traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Lupe Fletes.
Hello, my name is Lupe Fletes. I will refer to this area as Elysian Valley. Frogtown is the gang name that has always been used there. On November 29th, 2015, it was a Sunday, there was a fire on Purtle and Blake Street, about half a block from the Bimbo. There were 6 to 8 firemen that were there. They were unable to turn or do any functions because of the narrowness of the street. There were no lives that were involved, but if there would have been deaths. Bringing new developments that are so large into our small community would be a disaster. About almost 4 years ago, there was an explosion along the 2 freeway. The gasoline went down the drain and it exploded down the river, and it was a disaster. If you allow something like Bimbo to be one of the projects that are going to be coming up, later on it's going to create bigger problem because the streets are so narrow that the next thing they're going to say is we have to remove the homes now. This is a small community. It is for residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Robertson, Council District 13.
Hello again, Chris Robertson, Planning Director for Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell of the 13th District. Over the last year, the applicant has worked closely with our office and the community to transform this project. We worked with the applicant to address specific design and site layout details, including building articulation, alignment, parking, pedestrian walkways, landscaping, roof lines, rooftop deck setbacks, access, open space, and signage. While this project may not win any architectural awards, it is a better project because of the modifications that we requested and will add 100 units of housing in a commercial zone. Moreover, after reviewing the appeal, we feel the city has no legal ability to deny the tract map. For these reasons, we do not support the appeal. We understand that some in the community still have concerns, and the applicant is working to address those concerns. We encourage the applicant to continue to work with the community as the project moves forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, based on the testimony from the Planning Department requesting that we deny the appeal and sustain the CPC decision, and the recommendation by the local council office, and also seeing on my review that there's no CEQA violations, we'll recommend that we deny the appeal and sustain the CPC decision. Any objections to that? Seeing none, so ordered. Thank you. Next item.
Public comment, Councilman.
Public comment. We have one card for public comment. William Cusman. Welcome, William.
Thank you, Councilman Huizar. I'm here first to address, I heard earlier that Granada Hills Plan was adopted. To the best of my knowledge, it is not in effect yet because it hasn't been signed off because we're still living underneath the interim control ordinance in Old Granada Hills. Our RFA hasn't been passed. I just want you to know there's only 20 people that want this RFA district, and there's 350 people signed a petition against it. There is still time to reconsider this community plan before I have to take the actions to get it overturned. You've got an RFA district without an environmental impact report. That was brought to the City Planning Commission's attention back on May 23rd, that there was no EIR for the RFA. Gentlemen, please take another look at this community plan and examine what's happening. We have a homeowner who cannot rebuild. We have a homeowner that has a hardship exemption that's not been heard by this committee since June of last year.
Okay. Thank you very much. I believe that concludes no items left on the agenda.
No.
Thank you very much, Roberto from Cal. That concludes our meeting adjourned. Thank you.